Presenter is Pearce, founder and owner of Lightning Creator. And when we ask, what can our community do for you? What questions should we consider during your presentations? The question he provided was, how can we bring our services to small business? So think about that as he presents. Without further ado, Pearce.
All right, so my company is Lightning Creator. We are a full-service digital marketing company, and we have moved into the growth marketing field. So what is growth marketing? When we first started our business, actually I started this business on May 1st of this year. And this is after a 14-year career at Apple and ending a contract at Facebook. I really felt it was time to kind of move away from the corporate world and do something on my own, do something amazing, right? So how do we get into growth marketing? Because when we first started, I thought we were going to be a creative web design company. And the truth of the matter is that when you start a company, you either adapt or you don't exist. And I think that one of the things that I found is in talking to small business owners that really what they want, if they're getting a website, they want it to convert. They want it to make sales, they want it to make leads, right? They want their website to actually work and do something, right? Rather than just having this really pretty, creative looking website, which is pretty much what most web designers offer you, right? So the services that we offer and how do we work? When I think a traditional digital marketing lead funnel looks very similar to this, where you create social media as sort of the cold introduction, right? Whenever you're meeting a new client, there has to be that cold introduction that happens, right? But this is just an introduction, right? This is certainly not the place to sell. If you are selling on social media, you are losing and turning off a lot of your clients. So we make the introduction, but really what we want to do is we want to engage them enough that they're interested to show up on your website, to show up and read your blog. Now, a lot of small business owners struggle with, well, what do I put in my blog? What do I actually talk about, right? Because maybe I'm not sure what I have to say, or maybe I'm not sure what my voice is. And I think that really what we focus in on business blogs is less about the intricacies of your business, or even how you do your business, or office politics, which sometimes weirdly shows up in people's blogs. Really, a blog about a business should be about your values. When you share your values and you share the common interests surrounding your business, this is how you drive interest in your business, regardless of what that business may be, right? And so what you're really effectively establishing is trust, right? When people can read a blog article about your business and the response that they come away from is, I share their values, that's trust. And when you have trust, this is where business relationships happen, right? So these are the things that we really focus on, and this is how we can have creative writers doing the writing for your business, right? And what we're really trying to do is we're really trying to get them to the point where they trust and love your business so much that they're willing to give you an email address, right? Because you don't sell on social media, you sell in email. And if you're not selling an email, you are losing money and you will not be a successful business in the digital marketing realm. So we're really looking to get that email, put you into a newsletter, right? And the newsletter's great because if you have 10,000 followers on Facebook, only 6% of those people are ever going to see a post you have, right? Are ever going to stay up to date on all the things that are happening. But in this newsletter, there's this great opportunity to bring people back up to speed, right? What it is that you're doing. What are the things that are happening, right? And then at the bottom of that, that's where you sell them, right? So you start making the sales pitch in their email, right? And I'm going to tell you, when somebody has invited you into their email account and made that personal invitation to you, and they're expecting this, amazing things can happen in terms of sales, right? And this is how we create this. Now, We create $1 million businesses because over the course of the year, we can get you 100,000 people in your mailing list, right? It takes a while to do that. And there's sort of this exponential growth curve that happens. It's kind of what I call the inertia to success, right? The first 6 to 9 months, you're not going to see a lot of progress, but once you reach a certain threshold of followers within there, that's where it really takes off. And it is an exponential bell curve, right? That just sort of like sweeps up after months 9 through 12. If you have 100,000 people who love and support your company, who follow your blogs, who think the world of you, you're going to get at least 10% of those people purchasing from you every single month. And if you had a product that only had a $10 profit, and 10% of that 100,000 people are purchasing from you, that's $100,000 a month you're making. You now have $1 million business, right? But the next thing that we found is that a year is sometimes too long to wait to make sales, especially if you're a startup, which is why I moved into advanced growth marketing services. And what I did was I actually started reaching out, and this is that whole adapting piece of it, where I reached out to my contacts in Silicon Valley. Having worked in the tech industry for a while, I knew quite a lot of people, and I was actually surprised and amazed at the number of people who I would have thought would think of me as a competitor, but actually they openly shared all of their secrets with me. And so we're now doing a 5-step process with this, which is to connect, engage, re-engage, incentify, and gamify. This is how, in the 90s you would have called this guerrilla marketing. In Silicon Valley they call this growth hacking. I think in middle America probably the word hacking is a little bit too salacious, right? In Silicon Valley, hacking is sort of rebranding is happening. Facebook, the street that they're on, in their buildings, it's called One Hacking Way, right? So definitely to be a hacker in Silicon Valley is not a negative. But I think that really calling this growth marketing is a better term, right? Because it's really what we're doing. We're making those direct reach outs to your ideal client, right? We're making those engagements, we're then connecting them with your message and your business. And then once we get them there, we're consistently re-engaging them. So you stay on top of mind, right? Part of this, we have to incentivize people to kind of get on board, and also we make a game of things. So those are the services that we offer. The challenge that we have, and we've always run up against, is that full service is labor intensive, right? Think of it like this. You have to have, if we're providing social media management, you have to have a full-time person doing social media. You have to have full-time writers, right? You have to have full-time creative people creating the creative content, because if you're just putting written words out there and not creating great visuals to go along with it, good luck getting followers, right? So there's a whole team of people that have to be involved with it. And when you're building teams like that, it can get quite expensive. Try hiring all those people yourselves. What would your employment budget look like, right? Well, we can still do that at a fraction of it. Even that is often too expensive. And I think that has always been a big challenge for us, is how do we offer these amazing services while keeping our quality high? There are companies out there who can provide these services for much less. But you know what? I'm a big believer that you don't have to do everything yourself. And so we actually looked at these other companies that put them in the $200 a month price range or $99 a month price range. And we looked at the quality of their work. We also started talking to the people who use their services. And overwhelmingly, business owners would say, the service was just not there. We put a sales application up there, and we got salespeople applying from some of these said companies. And so many of them said to us that they were applying for our position in sales because the quality of the work that was being delivered and the number of clients that were walking away as a result of it was just not sustainable, right? So how do you keep the quality, right, there while making it affordable? And I think that's the price point that everyone's kind of working through. And so we have thought about different creative solutions on how we can do this. One of the questions that I often get is, well, can we get a piece of this and then we take on the rest of it, right? And I think that one of the challenges I have is that, well, if you take just this one small piece, which is kind of the cheap part of it, right? And you don't take all the other pieces, you're not going to get the results you want, right? So even if you only take this small little piece here, if you're not following the funnel all the way through to the end, you're going to be disappointed. You're going to feel like you wasted money. And I personally would feel terrible that you invested that kind of money and didn't get the results that you were hoping and looking for. So some possible solutions that we have looked into in terms of how we can bring this to small business owners is, what if we could train business owners on exactly our process, how we work, what we do, what does that lead funnel actually look like, right? So we create a platform where we have all the training there, we show you exactly all the things that you need to do, right? We can then at that point offer modular services, right? So you can start adding on the pieces that you want to utilize and sort of outsource to us with, right? You'd be working directly with our team. It would be, you know, a collaborative process, but basically you would know the process, you'd know the funnel, you would be able to purchase the pieces as you could afford them, right? But we would know at that point that you would have all the tools necessary to get the results that you were hoping for. So we feel like this is a good solution here. And really, if such a service existed, what would be the expected price point? I think that's another challenge that we have, is that, you know, what feels reasonable, what feels doable in terms of you know, would you pay for a service that on a monthly basis consistently have these trainings available to you, were consistently updated, but then also you could go through and a la carte pick which ones you wanted to add for us to take over. And that brings us to our Q&A.
Cool. So I'll go ahead and repeat any questions that come up so that everyone can hear, and so our wonderful followers on Facebook can hear. But great presentation. And does anyone have any thoughts, insights? I think Bill wants to start.
Do you have any employees now?
You know what? At this point, we do not currently have any full-time employees.
Okay.
We do have a tremendous team of independent freelancers that we're working with. And in fact, I think in a lot of ways, when I initially started this, I did a panel for the Austin Freelance group, right? A very large section of the employment workforce moving into 2020 is going to be freelance work. I think that's the direction that a lot of companies are working at. In order to keep our prices reasonable, that means that we need to keep management down. It means that we need to keep direct employees down, right? And with freelance work, we can really have a direct control on quality, because they either work or they don't, and if they don't, they're done, right? And so I think that that's another benefit of the freelance work.
Excellent.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have stats attached to your services, that if someone was looking at a service or investing and they see the stat that's going to get moved by that service, statistic, management statistic, performance, production?
So do you have stats to track the success of your
Yes,
services?
At this point, we currently do not track the success of our services with metrics or stats on an individual business level basis, right? A lot of that would require an integration into a business's, you know, actual income, you know, or what that transaction looks like, for that to really be feasible. I'm not sure a lot of business owners would be interested in sharing that information with us. We do have the ability, obviously, to share, you know, information and statistics on the things that we do and provide regular updates on the actions and activities that we have provided.
Go ahead.
If you were to forecast, you mentioned that getting through the funnel and getting the results often takes 9 months to a year, and that's hard for people to wait.
Right.
But if you were to look at the projected data at the end of the year and say the increase in revenue or increase in profit, do you have a sense of what the range, if you were to instead take a feet percentage that results from 1 year forever, you take a percentage of license, you know, of revenue, for example, is that 5% to cover the cost of your services? Is it 50%? You know, how expensive in an average successful campaign is what you would spend in a year to get to growth?
Sure.
Relative to the
Right.
size of that?
Well, yeah, let me kind of give you some price points, right? We have a lot of different levels of experience that we can work from, right? For just our standard traditional digital funnel, right? And this isn't even going into our advanced growth hacking stuff that we're doing. Let's say that we have incredibly experienced writers, and these are people with like MBAs or 5 years journalistic experience doing the writing for your blog, right? We've got some of the top creative talent doing all the creative work for your company, right? This is going to be about $186,000 a year, right? Now, you could never hire that many people. I mean, I've had global teams before for high-level companies, right? Build million plus, right? It's not hard to get there when you're hiring people directly for that. So it is a huge number for most small business owners, which is why we don't even market that to them. That's really more for our Fortune 500 companies that we're reaching out to, the bigger companies. What we would love to do is we would love to have an option to really bring this down to the legitimate small business owner, right? So that they understand the funnel, that they're engaged with it in the same process, and that when they purchase those a la carte items, they're significantly reduced because we can remove layers of management and oversight. One of the things that we have in our full service is that we've got a full-time project manager that manages the entire project on behalf of them, and so the customer really only has one point of contact, whereas in sort of the self-managed and the self-taught reign, there would be more of a direct one-on-one interaction with the freelancer for that particular thing, right? Because it would make sense, right? Basically, you're just integrating with our system, and we have like pre-vetted some of the best talent out there, right? That meets the standards and qualities that we would have and we would use on our own projects, right? And I think that's so important. I think that, you know, if I was to distinguish what we would do in this sort of a la carte system is that unlike like an Upwork or a freelancer.com, there's a lot of talent out there. There's a lot of talent that oversells what they can do and underdelivers, right? And I think that would be the number one thing. I've talked to so many business owners who've said, look, I went to Freelancer and I thought I was getting one thing and it was something completely different, right? I know that I have personally been burned, right? I thought I was talking to somebody who, you know, was based out of Amsterdam. Turns out they weren't, right? And, you know, they promised this whole, you know, application that I was, you know, paying for. I paid a quarter of it in advance, and when they turned up for the first deliverable, could not believe what was delivered, right? And this is not an unheard of story for a lot of people. I think that there is an inherent concern about the quality from a lot of business owners. So if we can pre-vet those people, if we can make sure that we've seen the work that they've done, that we've verified and we've vetted them well, just like we would if we were hiring them as an employee, right? Then we feel like we can give the confidence to the business owner that when they're working with this person, that this is going to be a great experience, right? And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're not delivering a great experience for the amount of money that people are paying, if what you're providing is not really turning into the sales that people are expecting, that's a problem, right? And you're not going to be in business long, and that's not how we would do business. So I think that what we would try to do is we would try to explain and show the process, and then provide the great talent that they could get a la carte.
Can you provide an example, like for a typical small business, you know, what would they do with you, or you know, how much they might spend in a la carte services?
Sure. I mean, a la carte services, I think, are going to vary widely in terms of what it is that we have like 91 different a la carte things that people can purchase, right? So there's a lot of things that we can purchase, that people can get. There's also a wide degree of experience that people are looking for, right? At the lower end, let's say that we're looking at the lower end of a blog management, right? These are people with college degrees, right? They're writing at a college level, right? But you're probably going to spend close to $400 to $500 for, you know, 2 to 3 blog posts a week, every single week for a month, right? At the end of the day, that's actually quite a lot of content that we're creating, right? And we feel like that's a pretty reasonable price, right? Because when you really break that out, I mean, could you hire somebody to do that for you at that price point? Even at minimum wage, you couldn't do it, right? So that would be an example of an a la carte price. Yeah.
Go ahead.
What do you believe is your biggest obstacle? Competitor firms, companies that offer similar services, or educating the business owner to understand and desire the value of what you guys can provide?
Absolutely, education, 100%. You know what I think is amazing in the marketing world, and I kind of alluded to this earlier. I reached out to other people who honestly I would have thought would have been my competitors. But in the marketing world, I think there's such a sense that there's so much work to go around, right? That if you're all working together and collaborating and sharing, that I don't see other companies as being a competitor, right? I think that really the biggest thing that we run across is educating, right? I think there's a general sense, and in fact, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has done studies on this in terms of what people in small businesses are expected to spend, right? The average marketing budget for most small businesses, based on a recent poll that was done, is between $400 to $500 is a month, is pretty much where most small businesses start at. So kind of like with her question, at that price point, that budget, right, for a moderate nominal fee to our system that trains the funnel, right? But then also to a la carte the blogging piece, which is also time intensive. I think that's probably one of the bigger pieces that a lot of business owners are kind of like, I don't have the time to write that much, and I don't even know if I'm that good of a writer, and all like these fears of like high school come to mind, and people who get into business certainly didn't think they would be writers, right? Or social media experts, right? And so we sort of bring that solution to them at a price point that we feel is reasonable, but then also educate them on the other pieces of it so that they can leverage that well. Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious why you want to go after small businesses.
Mm-hmm.
In a lot of ways, it sounds like your services are better fit for like a mid-market business or one that's kind of got some funding.
You're right.
Like that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. For our full service systems, you are absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the biggest reasons that at the end of the day, I don't know if this is a fool's errand or not.
Mm-hmm.
What I do know is that there is a huge need and demand, but I think that there is a certain lack of urgency that is there. And I can't quite understand if the lack of urgency stems from not understanding how this translates or converts. Does it stem from a disappointment in others who have promised the world for a very inexpensive price and then under-delivered, right? Because there are so many of those out there. Is there a better way? I think is kind of one of the things that we're looking at and chasing. And I don't know. I feel like we have the potential to do something great, but it would really depend on, would you be willing to spend, say, $100 a month for access to our training programs, and then whatever the a la carte fees are after that, right? Is there that demand? Is there that desire? And is there that understanding of how you can build a $1 million business online, even if you have a brick and mortar business, right? So I think that those are kind of the challenges that we run up against, and I'm not sure is the answer. We're working that out. We're trying to figure that out.
I think there's been a question over there for a while.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so as I understand it, your fees are one-off fees, right? Just how you're charging the customers for your a la carte services.
Right.
I myself run a business that's similar to yours.
Mhm.
We have a little bit of overlap, and I agree with you as far as the education piece is the biggest hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a big fear for entrepreneurs that don't understand that their business will translate and the investment is going to be worth the money they're spending.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to somebody and say, hey, this is going to be $2,000 for us to do content marketing,
Mm-hmm.
it's a big risk.
Sure.
So what I found that's pretty successful is if you change your fee structure to be performance-based,
Mhm.
so that they don't take on as much of the risk, and you're delivering quality, so you know you're going to produce the results for them.
Mhm.
And then you can take a percentage of the revenue that you generate, and you just tell them, like, hey, look, this is only going to be a percentage of, let's say you're making $50,000 a month
Mhm.
right now. I'm going to get you to $100,000 a month in X amount of time. You're going to front load the work on yourself, but over the span of the period, then it's just on you to leverage how you take that money in.
I'd be curious, how is that process working for you? How have you been able to accomplish
So I've actually implemented contracts because it does take, like you said, it's a hockey stick growth. So it
Mhm.
takes a little bit of time to get all the systems to work, and then after that threshold, like 6-9 months in,
Mhm.
that's when you see it skyrocket.
Mhm.
So it does take time, so you implement a term to actually work with the contract monthly.
Mhm. And how many of those have you accomplished?
I would say I keep 8 out of 10
Okay.
that we get to that.
Mhm.
The ones that get under there, if it's if it's a lower base fee, then those tend to drop off, and if they don't have the budget to do that, you just make sure you explain to them beforehand that, hey, this is the long-term game,
Mhm.
and we're going to get that going.
Interesting.
But
Cool.
Yeah.
And there's another one way in the back.
So when you say that you want to go in and train a business,
Mhm.
so I myself run our social media. I have gone in and tweaked our website. Like we have a web guy who does everything for us,
Mhm.
but he's not in our business, and he's not necessarily familiar with things that customers are pinpointing or looking at when they come in. So I've gone in and made things in bold or underlined or added to our website.
Mhm.
So is that what you mean by training? Is that where you're saying like you'll set up just a base layer for them and then train them how to go in and edit things? Because he's available if I didn't know how to do something or say I want to add a picture to the website, whatever. He's available for me to call and say, hey, how do I do this?
Mhm.
But he's not necessarily the person doing it, which obviously saves us time and cost
Mhm.
because we're not waiting on him to get to our new service.
Right.
Or charging us every time I call him and say, I don't like what that says anymore, change it to this,
Mhm.
or our hours changed by half an hour, change it to this, And also as far as like the social media side of it, obviously I can go in and do a Facebook post. Anybody can go in and do that, but are you suggesting to train people on what styles would work best?
So, kind of a lot of different things there. You bring up a great point about people who have web designers and they get frustrated because they need this small thing changed, and it seems like it's kind of a big deal, right, to get them to make that change and make that update. I think everything about Lightning Creator, the first thing that I always look at in terms of any service that we're offering is what does the experience look and feel like for the customer. We have a custom platform that we use to build websites, and it is incredible, right? The cool thing is that we can either give you a base website and then have you build it yourself with this platform that we're talking about here, very inexpensively. We host, so there's no external hosting fees. We do not use WordPress, right? It is completely custom. It is a built-in, incredibly fast CDN network that's built on the Amazon Web Services, which is probably the fastest network you can have. So we build websites that have a 98 out of 100 speed test rating on Google. But the cool thing about our platform, which is I think what really gets small businesses excited, is how easy it is. If you can type in Microsoft Word, if you can make a slideshow in PowerPoint, you can edit every single piece of our website. It is that easy, right? So if you want to make a small change to something, you can go in there and edit it to your heart's content, right? If you make a mistake, let's say that you're in there and you accidentally delete a whole section of it. Well, you know what? Our system is smart enough, it makes consistent automatic backups. Within 1 click, we can return it exactly the way it was when we gave it to you, right? So it is a smart, intelligent system that we have in place, right? Which makes it incredibly easy for you to go in there and make those changes. So when I'm talking about the training, right, we're not only going to train you on these are the things that you need to do, and this is how you do a social media post, right? But we would do training on this is how you make social media posts that actually convert and work, right? Because if I just went in there and showed you the steps on how to do that on Facebook, well, go to YouTube. I mean, that's already there. But what people really want, especially in business, is how do we create content that works and converts and puts us in the direction that we want our business to grow in, right? How do we start collecting those email addresses of our most, I like to say we create a tribe for your business, right? And this is another term that you'll hear out there. But these are people who, they not only like your products, they love your products. These are the people who are telling their friends about your products and services, right? And this is what we're really creating. So in teaching you the funnel, we're teaching you how to create those types of customers, how to attract those people to your business, how to retain them, how to keep them, and consistently moving through that funnel. So that would be the training that we'd be teaching. Does that sort of answer your question? Does that help you out there?
Yeah, I guess kind of where my mindset was going was if it's something where you could train me how to more or less do the work on my own, but I'm paying you a service to be like a backup to me or to be there for me if I call and say, hey, I need help with this. Not necessarily asking that you do it for me,
Sure.
so it's saving me the cost because I'm doing it myself,
Sure.
but you're kind of there as, the expert that I call to contact when I need those the help options. So if you set up just the base and you're charging them the base price for that, and then you offer a service where they're, on the back end, they're there for you as a support system, I think that maybe for small businesses and for people who want to be able to kind of do those things for themselves, that you may gain more that way. Like for me, that would be something that would really stand out.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and go way in the back.
Kind of pivoting off what she was saying, Ryan, if you consider doing, instead of almost being like a tech support, being more like an ad agency or a marketing agency that, okay, let's sit down, let's put together a plan and a strategy. Yes, if you want to do this on your own or if you want to piecemeal this, we're going to be there, on a monthly basis. It's $300 a month, and we're there to kind of coach and guide you through the path. Is that a feasible thing for your business?
Yeah, and that's pretty much where we're going with this model here. I think that one of the things that we have, especially with our self-paced training platform, is that it is done so well that you're really able to, rather than us having a million meetings trying to repeat ourselves each and every time, the training really helps us to coach and train you through those processes, right? And we then have the a la carte pieces where you can kind of pick those up as you want to add them, right? But the goal of everything would be there so that from start to finish you could do everything yourself, right? And I think the number one thing that I consistently heard from business owners is that I know I should do these things, I don't have the time, right? So what are the things that you can offset onto us to take over, and then you take on the rest of it?
Let's go right here at the front.
So I have a two-part question. The first is, do you have any sort of system in your site that allows some sort of a roadmap that directs small business owners to know what steps they should take at what point in their business? That's the first part of it. And secondly, on that type of conversation, do you have the reasoning behind positioning some of these tools? Because if you offer 91 different options as a small business owner, will they just stick with the trending words of saying, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this, but maybe specifically to their business, they don't need to do that yet?
Right. No, I completely agree. So in a lot of ways, what I'm talking about here, this new process, we would rebrand a lot of ways what we're doing under the brand Genius Funnel. Like that's kind of what we've already picked the name for it. And you're absolutely right. I think that one of the things that we realized early on is that we have 91 different products. And to have to go through and figure out, do I need this? Do I need this? I don't know what I need to do. We would walk you through a process where basically you would select the industry that you're in, right? And and obviously we try to get everyone into a particular type of funnel, right? But then from there, this is where we start the process of educating, right? And then recommending services for each one of those layers, right? So rather than getting a list of 91 things, you now have, for social media, we have these 3 options, right? And usually the 3 options are beginner, medium, and best, right? And really we're looking at the quality of work that's being created, right? Not every business is the same. Not everyone needs a world-class Master of Fine Arts writer doing the writing for their blog. Maybe they're completely fine with a standard college graduate, right? Which is a much more affordable rate, honestly. Because when you are hiring people with Masters of Fine Arts, people with 5 to 6 years of journalistic degrees, well, they expect to be paid the same as working for NBC News, right? And you would expect to pay that much, right? And some businesses want that. Some businesses really feel it is incredibly important for them to have that, but not everyone needs that. And so that's why we offer the beginner, middle, best for each one of those options. Yeah.
I'm actually going to pull MC rank real quick, and Bill has put a question in my ear, so I'm going to let him ask it.
So we've covered a lot of things, right? And one of the things that we want to do at 1 Million Cups is make sure that we're focusing on the questions that you're asking for feedback on.
Sure.
So I want to make sure we're answering your questions, and then also ask, we want to provide feedback to you on the direction that you should be taking, and there's a lot of different things that we'll cover. I offer this, I'm going to offer this, I may offer this, this is offered.
Yeah.
Can you, like, in 2 minutes tell us, this is what we currently do, and this is what we need feedback on? If we go in this direction, would there be interest or would there be success? Because I know sort of a new funnel thing.
Right.
So can you kind of
Sure.
encompass that in 2 minutes, and maybe we can jumpstart maybe a couple other questions?
Yeah, I think that's great. So I think that at this point, what we currently offer, and this is why we're really reaching out to much larger corporations, is just not really in the realm of this conversation. But how can we bring that knowledge, that information to the small business owner to where it is affordable, right? I think the first question I have is, would you be willing to pay a monthly fee to be trained on this and then be able to purchase each one of those elements at an a la carte level? And what would that price point be on a monthly basis that you think would be reasonable? Yeah.
So the one question I had is kind of where you were going, which is, it kind of sounds like you've got 2 strategies. One is, I want to do the a la carte piece, and the other piece is I want to do the training piece. And it feels like, in order to do the training piece very, very effectively, almost all your resources are going to have to be there in order to make that a very effective piece. So then, if you're also then spending resources and time and energy on the a la carte piece, which direction or in the end are you really wanting to go, right? Are you wanting to be that full service marketing, a la carte piece, or is the training component the real direction you're wanting to head?
So here's the solution that we were really trying to work with, is that we were consistently asked if we could do what we do on an a la carte basis. And the challenge was yes and no. Yes, we can, but you won't get the results you're hoping for. You have to know how these things interact with and work with each other, right? The training piece of it, you're right, there is a initial information investment there. I'm not terribly concerned about the a la carte piece of it because we really do have a wide network of great freelance work that we've already vetted, right? So that's already in place. It would be nothing for us to put a button on there and say, okay, buy this. And the talent is already there, the infrastructure is already there. The only thing we would be really creating is the video training for those funnels. But obviously, this is something that we would look at in terms of you're getting access to our handpicked freelance work, right? You're also getting access to how to make this work for your business. So it turns into a coaching, digital media training session, right? I've seen companies that offer just a fraction of what it is that we would be offering for $1,800, right? I'm obviously thinking probably close to $99 a month on a monthly basis for the training piece, and then access to those a la carte systems. Does that seem like a fair and reasonable price point?
You know, to me, it sounds like you set out some mixed signals, right? You start out with a transactional approach, but your intent is to develop a relational model with your client.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you want to educate them,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can develop a long-term relationship with them.
Sure.
Sounds to me like the best way to approach that is part of your educational package. There's also some transactional services that are available that included in that pricing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so that they can now take what you've taught them and apply it to their own needs.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that develops the relation that you're looking for.
Right.
Relationship that you're looking for.
Right.
You know, as opposed to, because if you keep talking transactional, I keep going off in this direction, as opposed to developing a relationship with your organization.
Sure.
It seems to me that would be the best approach.
We'll go
Yeah.
here in green. Okay. So, as a new business owner, I think I probably fit into just the sort of person you're trying to reach. And a lot of what you said very much appeals to me, because I feel that I know my business well and my operations well, but I'm not a marketer.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of questions, and there are a lot of options out there. And as a new business owner, I'm looking for guidance as to who I should pick and why and what best meets my needs. So I think you're on the right track there. As far as monthly subscription goes, that's the way of business now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that model with good, better, best is very in keeping and very workable. In terms of offering education on a monthly subscription basis, there's going to be a certain point in time, probably for the first quarter, where you'd have my interest in that.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point, I'll feel I know enough to feel good enough. Why should I keep paying for the subscription?
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be ongoing content to keep a person like me engaged.
Sure.
And I don't know what that would be, but something. And then specifically when it comes to how would you find people like me, well, I set up my website through GoDaddy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you're not going to find me by saying I'll help you with the website, because I already went on my own for that.
Right.
It may not be very good, but I've already done that. So now I'm I want to hear about enhancements and ways to make that work for me better.
Right.
And then a lot of small businesses are using things like Xero, FreshBooks, QuickBooks. So those might be partnerships that you could embrace in some way, because that's often the way a very small startup will get going. So that might be another way to reach the same target audience.
Absolutely. Definitely.
I think we have time for just a few more questions. So I saw a hand up in the back.
And so to clarify, if I come to you as a small business owner, do I have to have the educational component if I want the a la carte piece? So is it a full package or a la carte, but I must have the educational component?
The educational component, I think, is really important, right? Because I think that one of the concerns I have is that people go in there and they start picking things, and then they start saying, well, I didn't like the service because it didn't get me the results I wanted, but they were never really following the whole process.
Okay, so I'm just telling you, as a business owner with 2 locations, 2 young children, I don't know that I don't know that I have time for education. If I did, I would do it myself.
Sure.
Right? So it's not so much that I don't know how to do it, because yes, I know how to do social media posts. Yes, I know how to look at the analytics on Facebook. But do I have time? No, I don't even have time to make dinner sometimes at home.
Sure. Yeah.
Much less do I have time to
Agreed.
I'm just telling you, me personally.
Yeah.
And so, which is why when I realize that I'm really lacking, I reach out and get that help, because I know just because I may not know it to the extent that you do, but I do know how to do it. I'm not doing it.
Sure.
Because I need to do other things. You wear so many hats.
So, well, let me ask you. I completely agree with where you're at, right? I think a lot of the reasons that we exist and we really are trying to reach out to a lot of small businesses is because we get the fact that you didn't start your business because you thought you'd be a digital marketer or a web designer or any of these things, right? And we really want you to be there. We want to be there to sort of take up those spots for you, right? The challenge, I think that I come under is if you don't get the results that you're looking for because you weren't educated and that was not offered to you as an option, right? That's where I'm concerned that we would get a lot of drop off in terms of utilizing those services.
Could you do maybe just an idea, like I would, me as a potential customer, I'd be open to you saying, Dina, you know what, I need you to know about the full, gamut of why we do what we do. It's multifaceted.
Mm-hmm.
We do require a consultation. It is $99 or it is whatever price you want to put on it.
Mm-hmm.
And then take that, whatever, that hour, that window of time, educate me. Yes, it's going to be a CliffsNotes version,
Mm-hmm.
but so that I have an understanding when I'm selecting, and I'm not just saying, coming to you and saying, I need a social media piece or I need content writing, but not really understanding, because my level of understanding,
Sure.
our ideas of understanding it will be maybe different.
So let me ask you, because I think that one of the things that for this sort of a system to work, margin is much lower, right? When you start having one-on-one consultations with business owners, that increases cost, right? So the more that we can sort of automate the system and have like video presentations and things like that, that really helps us to reduce the cost and reduce the cost of those services, right? And I think that that's another piece of it that is part of the educational process, is that when you engage with more and more levels of management that have to engage like that on that personal one-on-one level, it increases the cost level because you have to pay for everyone, right? The way that we would keep this low is we cut out a lot of the management piece of it, right? And that's where we are able to provide this at a much lower level. So in your particular instance, what if we had a system where there was like a $99 introduction and there was like a small, maybe a 1 hour setup where we basically walk you through the lead funnel, right? And then let you set up and pick it from there. Would that work for you?
Yes.
Okay.
But if I have to have a monthly subscription,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, for me, that wouldn't work.
Okay.
I would have to make sure I have that time carved out.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, it's valuable. It's not that I'm saying it's not valuable.
Right.
I'm just having to pick which are bigger fires to put out. And yes, I know that that's important to my bottom line in the long run.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's hard for me to see that I have to dedicate that amount of time.
Sure. Okay.
Just not needed.
Right. Okay.
And I think, sorry to wrap
Yeah.
it up, but we are running out of time. So this is some great feedback, and I think especially a lot of the specifics, it sounds like you're getting some really good insights from essentially a small business, crowdsource right here, which
Mm-hmm.
is great.
Awesome.
So feel free to talk to Brian afterwards, grab some more coffee. And we want to extend a big thank you for presenting.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
I invite you to join the Mug Club.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
For more incentive for people who want to present, as you get to join the Mug Club. So here's the contact information, and again, please feel free to talk to Brian afterwards, provide more insight. I think it was definitely great to hear all of your suggestions and also coming from your experience, so I think that was really helpful. And thank you for joining us. Please mark your calendars for our next one, which is December 13th. The company is Drone Parks Worldwide, which I'm really excited about because I just think drones are super cool. And you can RSVP at our website. And then again, we just want to make another pitch. If you are interested in presenting, please talk to us, apply on the website. Also, if you're interested in being an organizer, talk to us. We have a lot of fun. We think we're cool, so we'd love to have you join us. And stay connected. So tweet, Facebook, go to our website, all of the good stuff. So thank you all so much for coming, and enjoy some more coffee.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.